My name is Eleanor. I am 32 years old. I am a reserved and thoughtful woman. I share a modest cottage with my husband on the outskirts of a quiet town. His name is Harrison. He is 37 years old, with a charming smile that lights up any room. I adore Harrison more than words can express. He's compassionate, intelligent, and has this effortless way of making everyone around him feel at ease. At social gatherings, he's the life of the party, cracking jokes that leave people in stitches. To the outside world, we're the epitome of a blissful marriage. People often envy our bond, whispering about how lucky we are. But beneath this facade of perfection, a shadow has been creeping into my heart, a nagging dread that I can't quite shake off. It started subtly. These little inconsistencies in Harrison's routine that began to unsettle me. He'd return home well past midnight, his clothes disheveled and his boots caked in mud from who knows where. When I'd gently inquire about his day, he'd brush it off with a vague excuse like just a long meeting at work or got caught up with errands. I tried not to pry, convincing myself it was nothing. Then there were the odd discoveries in our garage. Strange tools and scraps of fabric tucked away in corners he claimed were forgotten, relics from old projects. I'd nod and smile, pushing down the unease, because Harrison was my anchor, my confidant, the man who'd vowed to protect me through thick and thin. How could I doubt him? He was everything to me, or so I thought. But doubt has a way of festering, doesn't it? It grows in the quiet moments, whispering questions you don't want to hear. One rainy afternoon, while Harrison was out, I decided to tidy up his home office, a space he rarely let me into. As I dusted the shelves, a stack of folders tumbled down, spilling their contents across the floor. Among the bills and receipts was a crumpled magazine clipping. The bold headline screamed, "Mysterious Slayer Strikes Again. Authorities Baffled by Elusive Pattern." My breath caught in my throat as I stared at the accompanying sketch of the suspect. It was uncanny. The build, the hair, even the subtle scar on the cheek mirrored Harrison's features perfectly. Panic surged through me. My vision blurred as I scanned the details of the gruesome crimes, each one more chilling than the last. Was this some cruel coincidence? I sat there on the cold floor, heart pounding like a drum, replaying every overlooked sign in my mind. The unexplained absences, the evasive answers, the faint metallic scent on his shirts that I'd dismissed as sweat from the gym. The man I shared my bed with, the one who held me during thunderstorms. Could he harbor such darkness? I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. No, it couldn't be. I loved him too deeply to entertain such horrors. Yet the seed of fear had been planted, rooting itself deeper with each passing hour. I shoved the clipping back into the folder, pretending I'd seen nothing. But sleep evaded me that night. My thoughts raced in circles. What if I was wrong? What if confronting him shattered our life? But what if I was right, and ignoring it put me in danger? The days that followed were a blur of paranoia and pretense. I began observing Harrison more closely, noting how he'd slip out for walks at odd hours, returning with that distant look in his eyes. Strange packages arrived at our door, unmarked, and quickly whisked away to his locked drawer. Phone calls came in the dead of night. he'd answer in hushed tones, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting eavesdroppers. When I'd ask who it was, he'd snap, "Just work stuff. Eleanor, stop being so nosy." His temper, once rare, flared up over trivial matters, like when I accidentally moved his keys. Our conversations dwindled to superficial exchanges. The intimacy we once cherished felt like a distant memory. The cottage, our sanctuary, now echoed with unspoken tensions, its walls closing in like a trap. Isolation gripped me tighter. I had no close family nearby, and our friends were mutual. How could I confide in them without risking everything? "You're overthinking this," I'd murmur to my reflection in the mirror, but the mirror stared back with hollow eyes. I started journaling my suspicions in a hidden notebook, detailing every anomaly, the bloodstain on his cuff that he claimed was from a paper cut, the way he'd obsessively clean his car after those late outings. I even drove by his office one evening, only to find it dark and empty when he said he'd be working late. The pieces were forming a terrifying puzzle, one I desperately wanted to scatter. As weeks turned into months, the strain became unbearable. Harrison grew more reclusive, barricading himself in the garage for entire evenings, emerging only for meals where silence reigned. Our shared laughs were replaced by awkward pauses. Our touches, once tender, now felt mechanical. I lost weight, my appetite vanishing under the weight of anxiety. Sleepless nights left me exhausted, jumping at every creak in the house. I felt like a ghost in my own life, haunting the halls while questioning my sanity. Was I fabricating this nightmare out of boredom or insecurity? Or was the man I married a facade, concealing a predator? Finally, desperation pushed me to act. One stormy night, with Harrison attending what he called a business dinner, I mustered the courage to investigate the garage thoroughly. The wind howled outside as I picked the lock, a skill I'd learned from an old online tutorial, my hands trembling all the while. Inside, amidst the clutter, I discovered a hidden compartment behind a shelf. Pulling it open revealed a trove of horrors, a collection of newspaper clippings detailing a string of unsolved murders across nearby towns, each victim described in vivid, gruesome detail. There were Polaroids, 2 blurry images of shadowy figures and abandoned sites that matched the crime scenes, and worst of all, a leather-bound journal in Harrison's unmistakable script, outlining strategies for evasion, notes on alibis, and chilling reflections on the thrill of the hunt. Bile rose in my throat. I collapsed against the wall, sobbing silently. This wasn't admiration or research. It was a blueprint, a confession in ink. The man I'd built my world around was a monster, and I'd been blind to it. The garage door creaked open sooner than expected. Harrison stepped in, his silhouette framed by lightning flashes. His eyes narrowed as they landed on me, the journal clutched in my grip. "Eleanor, what are you doing in here?" His voice was calm, too calm, laced with an undercurrent of menace. I stood, legs unsteady, waving the evidence. "I know, Harrison. I know about the killings." "How could you? Why?" For a split second, regret flickered across his face, but it vanished, replaced by a cold detachment. "You weren't supposed to find out. It's not what you think." I had no choice. Debts, pressures. It spiraled. His excuses rang hollow, each word a dagger to my heart. Tears streamed down my face as I backed away. I'm done protecting your lies. I'm calling the authorities. He lunged for my phone, but I dodged, dialing emergency services with fumbling fingers. Please, hurry. My husband is the serial killer you've been hunting. He's here now. Harrison's pleas turned to threats. You'll destroy us both, Eleanor. Think about what you're doing. But I was beyond fear. Clarity had finally pierced the fog. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder as officers burst in, cuffing him amid his protests. The aftermath was a whirlwind of interrogations, media frenzy, and court proceedings. I testified, handing over every scrap of evidence, my voice steady despite the heartbreak. Harrison was convicted, sentenced to life without parole. The trial exposed layers of his double life, debts from gambling, a hidden rage that manifested in violence. I sold the cottage, relocating to a bustling city where anonymity offered solace. There I rebuilt, a new job in a bookstore, therapy sessions to mend my shattered trust, and tentative friendships that reminded me of humanity's kindness. Years later, curiosity drew me to visit him in prison. He sat behind glass, aged and bitter, offering no apology, only deflection. You betrayed me, he muttered. I left without regret. The chains of our past finally broken. I've learned that love, while powerful, must never blind us to red flags. Strength comes from facing the unbearable, and truth, though painful, sets us free. Today, I walk with my head high, no longer a victim, but a survivor, embracing a future untainted by secrets. If you enjoyed this gripping tale, don't forget to like, comment with your thoughts, share it with friends, and subscribe to English Easy, Voice for more thrilling stories and easy English lessons. Your support means the world.